Yep. Okay. So today there's somebody sent me some questions about last week. So we'll start off going through those, and then we'll get into we'll continue with the text. Okay, talking about the 18 unshared qualities of the Buddha. That these are qualities that are not shared with all arhats, Shravaka and solitary realizer arhats. Okay, so let's visualize the mirror field and ourselves surrounded by sentient beings. Please remember the instructions from the preceding Friday evenings.
To the teacher and now transcendent destroyer, the one thus gone, the foe destroyer, completely and fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, one not the bliss, nor the world's supreme guide to beings to be tamed. Teacher of gods and humans, to you the Buddha endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, and prostrate and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you are born on this earth, you paced 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, and I bow. With pure bodies formed supremely fine, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner the best, supreme guide, to you I bow. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I bow. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I bow. Great compassionate protector, all-knowing teacher, field of merit and good qualities, vast as an ocean, to the Tathagata I bow. Through purity, freeing from attachment, through virtue, freeing from the lower realms. Unique, supreme, ultimate reality, to the Dharma that is peace I bow. Having freed themselves, showing the path to freedom, too well established in the trainings. The holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha I bow. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind completely, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop into a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this merit may sentient beings attain the state of all seeds to do the foe false, and be delivered from the ocean of cyclic existence perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, foreland sun and moon, imagined as of Buddha land and offered to you, may all beings enjoy this pure land. Venerable holy gurus, in the space of your truth body, from billowing clouds of your wisdom and love, let fall the rain of the profound and extensive Dharma, in whatever form is suitable for subduing sentient beings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niyatayami. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain
Now a few minutes of silent meditation. So let's cultivate our motivation. When we think of the Buddha's qualities, they may seem to us kind of unimaginable. How can somebody like me become like that? But just because we can't imagine something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or that it can't exist in the future. So when we see the example of the Buddha, who was an ordinary being like us, who completed the path and gained these qualities, then he and many other Buddhas who came before and after him are our role models, showing us that attaining full awakening is possible. And if we ask what makes it possible, what is the reason? Yeah, the reason isn't just that the Buddha said so, or it's written in a scripture. The reason that these qualities are of a fully awakened one can be attained, and the defilements that plague our mind right now can be overcome. The reason for that is that the mind is empty of inherent existence, and that all the defilements, as well as the self-centered thought, are not in the nature, they're adventitious. They are not forever implanted in our mind. And so when you think about that in relationship to yourself and see the Buddha as our example, our role model, who is also teaching us how to go from where we are now to full awakening, then we can have a much clearer idea of where we're heading, and how to attain it and why it's possible. And since the initial motivation for attaining full awakening comes from the Buddha's compassion towards all sentient beings and the bodhicitta that develop from that, then take a moment and meditate on compassion. Don't leave even one sentient being out of your compassion. And then generate bodhicitta from that. Okay. So somebody sent me some questions from the teachings last week, so we'll go through those first. Okay, so what is the difference between free from any lack of mindfulness regarding the dhyanas and wisdom, and the Buddha's mindfulness being effortless and interrupted? As we look in the unshared behaviors of the Buddha, those two are listed in there. Okay, so what's the difference between them? Well, if there's no lack of mindfulness regarding the dhyanas, then the Buddha can stay on the object of meditation, can control which state of dhyana or formless realm absorptions he wants to be in, and then go to that state. So the mindfulness is focused on what it needs to be to have that very deep concentration. Okay, whereas the the wisdom and the Buddha's mindfulness is effortless and interrupted. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, it's unclear in the question. Anyway, I'll answer it one way, and if it's not right, we'll revise. Okay, so between that mindfulness and the Buddha's mindfulness being effortless and uninterrupted, there it's speaking of the Buddha's mindfulness in general, not just specifically where he's involved in concentration. Okay. And then he is mindful of the situations each sentient being encounters in the present, past, and future, and the methods to subdue the minds. I think, yeah, I'm unclear what you're comparing. That is that one being, did you lump the two that I just spoke of into one and it's being compared to this one? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's your questions.
I lump the two into one and then comparing that under the unshared behavior versus the mindfulness of situation for each sentient beings.
Okay, well, one is mindfulness regarding the dhyanas, yeah, and mindfulness being uninterrupted regarding all things. And then the second one, his mindfulness is focused on what sentient beings experience in the present, past, and future. Okay. In the unshared realizations, his wisdom knows that his state of awakening, which is free from both afflictive and cognitive obscurations, cannot degenerate. He lacks any dualistic appearance or grasping at duality and knows the clear light nature of the mind. So the question is, what are the different types of dualism? Okay, so there's some basic ones and then a couple that other people add on, okay? But for here, it's referring specifically to meditative equipoise, directly perceiving emptiness. Yeah, that mind has no appearance of conventionalities. If they appeared, that would be a kind of duality. There's no appearance of subject and object, of somebody being here, realizing emptiness there. There's no appearance of any kind of conceptualization at all. Yeah, there's no appearance of inherent existence. And there's, Jeffrey added, I don't know where this comes from, there's no appearance of difference. In other words, all sentient beings are equally empty. Okay. Then, okay. So, and then what is the difference between duality and mutually exclusive? Okay, in other words, Buddha versus sentient beings. They would be mutually exclusive. Yes, that's correct. Okay. When we say, yeah, I mean, duality is talking in the, here is talking in the context of that direct perceiver of emptiness, okay? So there's no duality there. Mutually exclusive is a totally different ballgame. That's just seeing what it means is if something is this, it can't also be that. In other words, these two categories, there's no overlapping, something that's both of them. Exclusive, excluded, exclusive, yeah. Yeah. So they're mutually exclusive. If it's this, it can't be that. Okay? Okay. So now we will go on to, we finished the 6 unshared behaviors and the 6 unshared realizations of the 18. So we'll start with the 3 unshared awakening activities. Okay, so these are some of the things the Buddha does, okay, specifically to benefit sentient beings. So imbued with wisdom, the Buddha's bodily or physical actions are always done to benefit others. He emanates diverse bodies that appear wherever sentient beings have the karma to be led on the path to awakening. And whatever physical actions the Buddha does, standing, lying, sitting, walking, automatically have a positive effect on sentient beings and subdue their minds. Wow, can you imagine that? That the motivation for all your physical actions is just to benefit others. It's not to show off how good looking you are, or how competent you are, or how many trees you can cut down in the forest faster than other people, or there's or whether you are an Olympian athlete, so because the Olympics are starting today, officially, yeah. So the Buddha doesn't care about those things, and if you think about why are people, what the athletes at the Olympics do is quite amazing, but what's the motivation behind it? Yeah. Huh? Reputation, yeah. A lot of it is reputation, proving to yourself or proving to others that you're capable of something. So quite different than the Buddha's motivation for whatever he does. And so the Buddha also emanates so many bodies, yeah, and he does this spontaneously. So it's not like Buddha wakes up in the morning and kind of looks around and like, okay, who needs some help? Who can I emanate a body for? And then he thinks, oh, let's see, is that body going to have blonde hair or black hair? Kind of what language are they going to speak? Or, there's nothing like that, because all the Buddha's actions are done totally effortless. So in this case, he can tune in to exactly what other sentient beings need, and he knows the extent of the karma they have to be benefited from a certain emanation. Yeah, because we do lots of, well, I don't know about you, but I do things that I think will be beneficial to people, and then they aren't. Yeah, it's like I really want this to be beneficial, and then it's not. And I learned this, okay, I'll tell you a little story here that you may think is stupid, but it had a very strong impact on me. So after I came back from my very first meditation course, where I'd just been introduced to the Dharma, and I loved the idea of bodhicitta. I was just so invigorated by that. So I was in LA, and I went to buy some donuts. Okay, so I got when I parked the car, there was a beggar sitting in the, on the curb near the parking lot. And so when I went in and I got donuts, when I came out, I gave this man one of the donuts, okay? And I thought, I'm learning about practicing generosity. I want to benefit him and lead him to awakening. And this, is making a connection. And, he's a street person, he's hungry, and here's one of these really nice donuts he's really going to enjoy. Okay, so this was going on in my mind. So he takes the donut and he looks at it, and then he crumbles it right there. Crumbles the whole donut while I'm watching. And all the crumbs fall on the ground. Yeah. That was a big lesson for me, you know? It's like I'm trying to benefit somebody, but I don't have any awareness of how he's going to respond, or if this is even something he wants or needs or likes. Yeah? So it really gave me pause. Okay, I was trying to have a good motivation. That's certainly better than eating more donuts for keeping the donuts for myself. Yeah, but benefiting sentient beings is not always so easy. Yeah, because you don't know what their disposition is. You don't know what they're wanting. You guess. And sometimes you guess what you guess is right, and sometimes what you guess isn't. Okay? So, so that man taught me a lot. And then whatever physical actions the Buddha does, in the 4 positions, standing, walking, sitting, lying down, they automatically have a good effect on others. Okay, so it's interesting. If you have a shrine in your home, have you ever had it happen, or in your room? If you live at the Abbey, and something happened, and you're ticked off, or you're in a really bad mood, and have you ever just walked past the altar and paused and looked at the Buddha? And what effect does that have on your mind? Yeah, we calm down right away. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The thing is, we usually walk right past the statue. I'm so mad, or I'm so I just want, But if we pause, just seeing the Buddha's body. Yeah. Or what about listening to tapes of your teachers? Yeah. When I listen to His Holiness's teachings, it's like the mind calms. Even they're in Tibetan, and I don't understand, because I've been to many of his teachings. My mind quickly goes back to how I feel when I'm sitting there listening to Dharma from him. Yeah. So wouldn't that be nice to have that effect on others? Yeah. Not so they're going to go, oh, you're so great, I just think of you, and then I'm happy. Ooh, and then you go, yes. Not for that reason, but just, to be of benefit, to be of service. Without all the showing off that we, easily can do. Look at my new robes. My chugu is only 47 and a half years old, but it's brand new. Isn't it beautiful? It's nicer than yours. Oh, there's none of that. Okay, that was number 13. Number 14, knowing the dispositions and interests of each sentient being, he teaches the Dharma in a manner appropriate for that person. His speech flows smoothly, is accurate, and lovely to hear. It does not deceive or lead others astray, but is clear, wise, and kind. Okay, so this one is very important, especially when we do interfaith dialogue, okay? Being aware, knowing the dispositions and interests of the people that I'm speaking to. So I'll give you an example of not having that. I was sitting, I have some karma where I often wind up sitting next to born-again Christians on flights. Yeah, so I was sitting next to one of them, and it was an adult man. I have another story with a teenager, but or a young adult. Anyway, he was older, and start trying to convert me on the flight, and until I said to him, I try my best to practice good ethical conduct, not killing, not stealing, not lying, and so forth. And I try and develop love and compassion for other living beings. I'm not perfect, but these are what I'm trying to do. And he had told me that I would go to hell. Don't you love that? You're on a plane and you're, person next to you tells you you're going to be reborn in hell. Well, thank you. Yeah. So, I said, if you told me that your God is compassionate, but if he's compassionate and I'm doing basically the ethical conduct and love and compassion that he's teaching, just because I don't believe in Jesus or God or whatever, why would he send me to hell? Yeah. So, I wasn't offended because, I'm beyond this. Has happened so many times. It's not worth getting offended. But it's a good example of somebody not knowing the disposition and interest of somebody else, namely me, and just thinking, oh, I have this thing that's really good and I'm going to push it on somebody else. Yeah. Again, when I came home from my first Dharma course, I was talking to a friend of mine who was Swiss, and telling him about the course and what we learned, and I was especially saying how it was such a relief for me to hear somebody be able to talk about death and to talk about aging and sickness and suffering, and just to be able to talk about it without falling apart emotionally, and to talk about it and give some ways to handle these kinds of things. And and I was so impressed with the Dharma because of that. So I was trying to express this to my friend from Switzerland, and his comment after I talked about death and suffering and to how that's the reality of our life, he said, "Oh, you sound very unhappy." That wasn't what I was trying to get across. But, my speech did not know what his disposition and interest was and how to communicate. Okay. What I've learned, and here's a tip in case it's useful to you. When you're talking with people who are not Buddhist, okay, and we, like the first or second year we were here, we went to the Mennonite church, remember? And we were talking with them, and the pastor's wife, she and I were talking, and she said, well, do you Buddhists believe in God? So what am I going to do? Say, no, we think it's a conspiracy theory. What in the world are you talking about? That's nonsense. No, you don't say that. So I said, well, it depends what you mean by God, because different people have different meanings that they associate with God. So I said, well, if you're talking about somebody who is more spiritually advanced than us, who is, wise and kind and compassionate, yes, we talk about those beings. They're called Buddhas. And, there's bodhisattvas who are training to be like that, who are generating those qualities. So yes, if that's what your meaning of God, then yes, Buddhism has something similar. Yeah. But I said, if you're talking about a creator, somebody who made the world, yeah, in that way, we don't share the same belief, and I just left it at that. I didn't launch into talking about karma. Okay, but if she had asked about that and I talked about karma, I would have said, well, the Bible says that you reap what you sow, and this is very much the same thing that the Buddha is trying to get across when he's talking about karma. Yeah, so the whole idea is you point out the similarities with what somebody already believes, yeah, and the more similarities you can find, like ethical conduct, love and compassion, these kinds of things, then that person, their mind is more open to Buddhism. Whereas if you just launch into it saying, well, you believe in this and we don't believe in that, we believe in something totally different, then it's not connecting, and when you have interfaith dialogue, it's important to connect. Yeah. Okay. So I guess those situations are, a training that we can do. I can give you many other things that I've said that haven't, didn't bring about the end what I hoped. Again, after my first course, this was many, many years ago, it was 1975. I was visiting my parents, and they had just gotten a little kitten that was full of fleas. Yeah. And so my mom wanted to kill the fleas to free the kitten from them. And I said, oh, Mom, don't do that. It's killing. And she said, well, you want to be a Buddhist and just leave the home and everything, and that's killing me. So, okay. So, what I said was not what my mother needed. It probably would have been better if I said, oh yeah, those fleas they're really disturbing and they're harmful to the cat. But this was before you could go online and find a remedy to fleas online. It was way before that. So I'm not quite sure what I would have said. I probably would have just left, because if I tried to deter her from doing it, she would just get angry. But those situations are quite difficult. Mm. You want to stop somebody from creating negative karma, but you know what they believe and that they're going to get angry. Yeah. Okay. So don't do that if your mom has a cat with fleas or any other kind of situation like that. Okay. So, so the Buddha's speech flows smoothly. Yeah, not with like, we're going to talk about the, that thing that we talked about the other day, because you can't remember. So his Buddha's speech flows smoothly. It's accurate. It's not like ours when we try and very often when we've heard something from somebody else or read something and we try to repeat it to somebody else, we don't have it exactly correct the way we read it, and it can be misleading to the other person. But the Buddhist speech is accurate, and it's lovely to hear. Yeah, I don't know about you, but the political speech that's going on in this country now, I don't want to hear it. I find it really, it's sad, the hatred that is often expressed. Okay, so we should try and speak in ways that create harmony with others, and not call people names. Yeah, debating a point, good. Yeah, we can learn from each other. Calling people names, making accusations that have no support, what's the use of that? Yeah, I'm not going to go vote for somebody who speaks like that. Would you? Yeah. So, even if they called another person I don't like by those names, just the fact of somebody speaking like that about someone else, I don't respect that. And I also know that if somebody speaks harshly about this person over here, they're probably going to speak the same way about me. So it's kind of what's the use of forming a close friendship with that person? Okay, then 15, filled with undeclining love and compassion. The Buddha's mind encompasses all beings with the intention to do only what is of the highest benefit. He effortlessly and continuously cognizes all phenomena. Okay, so filled with undeclining love and compassion. Yeah, again, I don't know about you, but my love and compassion is kind of like it's on and it's off. It's flickers. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're nice to me, then I have a very easy to feel love and compassion for you. But when you're not nice to me, it's much more difficult. Okay. Yeah. Because of the self-centered mind. So, Buddha doesn't have that problem. The intention is always to benefit and always the highest benefit, And he knows that the highest benefit for somebody may occur a long time in the future. So what he does now is suited for that situation to get that person to the next step. Yeah, because it's not like Buddha knows the perfect thing to say to somebody today and then tomorrow they're going to be fully awakened. But to get them to the next step and to get them to the next step and the next step. Yeah. And so the Buddhas, that's how they speak. And again, it's effortless and it's done that way towards all beings. Yeah. So it's not like the Buddha says, well, you're from another religion. You don't worship me. I'm not going to be kind to you. Yeah, I'm not going to teach you. I'm just going to shun you, or you're a jerk. Can you imagine the Buddha thinking that about a sentient being? What a jerk. What in the world was that person thinking that they did that? Yeah. Do you ever have that thought go through your mind? How many times a day? And somebody's doing something not in the way you would do it, or they're making a different decision. And it doesn't matter what the decision is, So you make the decision to paint the doors of the Buddha hall bright purple. And it's like, what were you thinking to paint the doors bright purple? You know? Well, apparently that person thought it would look good. Yeah? Why am I sitting there saying, you know, what a dim-lit, bright purple? Yeah. In other words, you know, why is somebody not doing things the way I want them to do it? Oh, well, duh. You know, people have different beliefs, you know, and people like different things. And why is it a big surprise when somebody cooks rice and beans and cabbage for lunch, you know, and then puts vinegar and vinegar and orange juice all over the salad? Yeah. Yeah. Why am I going like, what in the, you know? Well, obviously that person thinks it's going to taste good. Yeah. But really, what are you thinking? Yeah. So, you know, the Buddha sees that, you know, people have different ideas, they have different things, you know, ways of thinking. And even if somebody makes a mistake, okay, like there's been mistakes made with certain aspects of the Buddha hall, and it would go, yeah, right, Venerable Tarpo, we kind of roll our eyes and go, what are they thinking?
They are shared too.
Yeah.
They're ahead of us. We'll never catch up to them.
Yeah, we'll never catch up to them. Yeah, it's all their fault. Yeah. Yeah, and if it's our fault, it's your fault. It's not me. I don't do that. Yeah. So, you know, again, like sentient beings are sentient beings, and they, you know, they often don't think clearly. And this is a quality that unfortunately applies to me also. You know, that there are times when I am not thinking clearly and I make a stupid decision. So somebody made a stupid decision, you know, what I consider a stupid decision, then, you know, what's such a big deal about that? As long as it's his stupid decision and he's not talking about my stupid decisions. Yeah. Have you ever noticed how the self-centered mind, you know, comes into all these things? Okay, so those are the three unshared awakening activities of a Buddha. And now the three unshared pristine wisdoms. So without obscuration or error, the Buddha's wisdom simultaneously knows everything in the past, future, and present. Okay, so knowing it in the past, future, and present, those are the three, you know, the wisdom of those three. Okay, so his knowledge of the future does not mean that things are predetermined. Yeah, as soon as we think, oh, somebody has knowledge of the future, oh, well, it must be predetermined. By who? Yeah, predetermined implies somebody is making the decision beforehand that it's absolutely positively going to be like this, no matter what other causes and conditions come up. You know, you can't say that. Yeah? And His Holiness, when people ask about that, he says, well, you don't know the future until it happens, because there are so many different causes and conditions that can come together. And, you know, the Buddha may know all of those causes and conditions that will come together to produce, like he knows who's going to win the most golds at the Olympics. Yeah, but not that that's, yeah. Anyway, so he knows that, but that doesn't mean that it's predetermined and it's destined. It just means that he knows, oh, this, this event is going to affect that, which will affect this, which will affect that. It's kind of like if an analogy that's not sufficient, but it'll give us an idea. If you know somebody really, really well, okay, and then a certain situation happens or a certain event happens, if you know that person really well, you can kind of predict how they're going to react. Yeah? So, our being able to predict how they're going to act doesn't mean that it's predetermined. That person still has free choice. They can do whatever they want. We're basing that just on knowing their habits. Okay? The Buddhist is based on really knowing how different causes and conditions interact with other causes and conditions. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that things are predetermined. Okay, so rather, the Buddha knows that if a sentient being does a particular action, a particular result will follow. And if another course of action is taken, a different result will follow. So, yeah, the Buddha knows that. Yeah, he can't control other beings. That's another difference if, if you're ever speaking to a Christian and they say, is God omniscient? You mentioned Buddha. Well, is Buddha omniscient? Do you believe in somebody who's omniscient and omnipotent? Yeah. Then, how we would respond is, well, yes, we say that the Buddha is omniscient. He knows everything. But we don't say the Buddha is omnipotent because he does not have power over everything. We still, have choice, and it's up to us to make, to use our wisdom when we make choices. Yeah. So again, showing something similar to what that person believes, but then also sneaking in how there's a difference without clobbering them with it. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so the Buddha also knows all the Buddha fields and the realms of sentient beings, as well as all beings and their activities in them. Woo! And he doesn't get confused. Yeah, pretty amazing, huh? Okay, so 2 further excerpts from the questions of King Dharanishvara Sutra illustrate how the Buddha's qualities surpass those of bodhisattvas, Shravaka learners, and arhats. So here's what the sutra says. There, the Tathagata's knowledge of the exhaustion of pollutions is completely purified, stainless, totally pure, clear light. Talking about the Buddha's true cessations. All elaborations due to latencies are well destroyed. So it's the latencies that are one factor in the cognitive obscurations that prevent full awakening. So the Buddha's latencies have been well destroyed. Shravaka's exhaustion of pollutants is measurable, and the latencies are not well destroyed. Okay, so they've destroyed, in the case of the Shravakas, they've destroyed some of the pollutants, but not all of them. And the same with the arhats. They have destroyed the afflictive obscurations, but not the cognitive obscurations. So their exhaustion of pollutants is measurable. And the latencies, the cognitive obscurations, they haven't destroyed at all. Okay, solitary realizers, exhaustion of pollutants is measurable, devoid of great compassion. They are devoid of courage. Okay, so, their true cessation is measurable. It isn't with everything. And also, they're called the solitary realizers. They're, the Sanskrit term is Patyeka Buddha. So the time Buddha is often attached to them, meaning that they have that kind of awakening, not the same awakening as a Buddha. Okay, so they lack compassion and they lack the great courage that you have to have compassion for all sentient beings and to really make the pledge to liberate all sentient beings. The Tathagata's exhaustion of pollutants is endowed with the best of all aspects. All elaborations due to latencies are well destroyed. Okay, so all the Buddha's cognitive obscurations are destroyed. The Tathagata is always upheld by great compassion, fearless, not devoid of courage, not outshone by the world, endowed with one instant of mind. Okay, so, the Buddha's fearless. He's not devoid of courage. Yeah. So we think of our fears, the different things we're afraid of, and many, I think all of us have some fear of death, the unknown, what's going to happen to the me, at the time of death. The Buddha has no concern with that. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice when you're dying? There's no concern, no grasping at an inherently existent I and being so worried about what's going to happen to you after you leave this life and enter a realm where everything is not familiar. Yeah. Or what about the courage to benefit sentient beings? When sometimes benefiting them means that you risk them getting mad at you, or you risk them harming you, but that what you've done is beneficial. For example, if you have a sibling, let's say, who has a substance abuse problem, it's beneficial to, say, I'll take you to rehab, and I'll pay for the rehab, because you care for that person, you have love and compassion for that person. But that they're going to get furious because every time their addiction has come up before, they just totally deny it, they get mad, they accuse you of different things, okay? So, often we don't say things, that person needs to hear because we don't want that. We want them to like us, yeah? And if we say that, even they need to hear it and it's good for them, they won't like me. And that's one of my rules of the universe. Everybody has to like me. Is that the rule of your universe? Are you willing to risk, a relationship or your reputation to benefit somebody? you know? So the Buddha, again, he doesn't care about that kind of stuff. Yeah, people like me, people don't like me, that's their business. You know, his business, how to benefit. Whether they like or don't like, can't control. You know, and if they don't like him, you know, he's peaceful with that. He's not going, oh, I'm a failure. They don't like me. They're going to tell all the other Buddhists that I failed and I can't do these things very well. Oh, no, Buddha doesn't have that ego problem. Okay. So the Tathagata is always upheld by great compassion, fearless, and not devoid of courage, not outshone by the world, endowed with one instant of mind. Why? The Tathagata has no latencies of karma, no latencies of afflictions, no latencies of faulty behaviors. Okay, this one about latencies of faulty behaviors. They say that arhats sometimes can do things that, you know, kind of can be troublesome, or that other people would be shocked at, you know. So an arhat may kind of, you know, joke around and do something really crazy. Or what's this thing with a monkey, you know, maybe swinging from trees, or, you know, some kind of, or even getting, you know, having a slur of cuss words come out, you know, and some people, you go, wait, how could the Buddha possibly say? You know, the Buddha would never say those things, but an arhat, even though they've eliminated the afflictive obscurations, there's still the imprints of having done those actions many, many times while they were in samsara. So the habitual energy comes, and again, they act like a monkey, or they, you know, do whatever it is that we find kind of perplexing. But there's no bad motivation entailed, yeah, because they've eliminated the afflictive obscurations, but that the latencies to do that kind of behavior are still in the mind, and they can act like that. But the Buddhas are free from those latencies. Okay. Then another passage from that sutra. It is like this. For example, the sky is totally pure by nature, not abiding together with dust and smoke. Likewise, the Tathagata's knowledge of the exhaustion of pollutants does not abide together with the latencies of karma and afflictions. Okay, so again, the mind completely cleansed of all defilements. Immediately upon thoroughly abiding in such exhaustion of pollutants, he teaches the Dharma in order for sentient beings with pollutants and with appropriation to exhaust their pollutants and abandon appropriation. Okay, so the Buddha will immediately upon having attained all the true cessations of a Tathagata, teaches immediately without having to cultivate a good motivation and check, you know, who can they benefit, immediately teaches the Dharma to sentient beings with pollutants and with appropriation. Appropriation means beings who are taking another samsaric body and mind. Yeah, they're appropriating the polluted body and mind. So in order for those sentient beings with pollutants and appropriation, to exhaust the pollutants and abandon appropriation. So do you remember what the pollutants are? We went through this a week or two ago. Okay. Sensuality is one. Craving for existence, in samsara, or at least in the form of formless realm, is another one. Ignorance is the third one. Yeah, those are three big pollutants, huh? And then wrong views. Some people add that fourth one onto the list of pollutants. So Buddha has abandoned all of those. Okay. So continued with the sutra passage, saying, the Buddha's saying, O sentient beings, arisen from constantly conceptualizing the imperfect, you should realize individually, just exactly as they are, the pollutants and appropriations. The Tathagata teaches the Dharma to them, to these sentient beings, that set out this and that, so that they will, by all means, thoroughly know, just exactly as they are, the pollutants as imperfect, and having thoroughly known, not by appropriating any phenomena whatsoever, will also totally pass beyond sorrow. That's one sentence. Okay. So sentient beings arisen from constantly conceptualizing the imperfect. Yeah, we do that all the time, you know, all of our opinions. I like this, I don't like that, I want this, I don't like that, why is this person acting like that, they should do this. Yeah, all this kind of stuff, conceptualizing the imperfect. So, you know, thinking things that are impermanent are permanent, thinking things that are foul by nature are pure, thinking that things that are dukkha, unsatisfactory by nature, are pleasurable, thinking that things that lack a self have one. You know, these kinds of thoughts are going on in our mind all the time. Yeah. So comparing ourselves, you know, the way I'm teaching this is comparing us with the Buddhas. It's not so that we feel like, oh, I'm so far from being a Buddha, I can't do all this stuff, Buddha's so perfect and I'm so raunchy. No, that's not the purpose of teaching this, you know. Making somebody depressed or not have self-confidence, you know, you don't need to give teachings to people. They can figure that how to put themselves down all by themselves. Okay, so you know, the reason that I'm doing it like this is that, you know, first of all, to help us see what our defilements are, because it's so easy for us to go through life just thinking that all of our ideas are correct, all of our opinions are good, all of our decisions are wise. Yeah, and so to get us to really, you know, look at what we believe and how we act and what's motivating us. And also to see that, you know, it doesn't have to be this way. If we practice, we can attain the same realizations that the Buddha did. You know, and so we can rely on the Buddha as a good guide because he knows the path. Okay, so while Arya Shravakas may have some of the above qualities, they are not motivated to attain all of them. Yeah, why? Because they lack the great compassion. And the Shravakas do not use these qualities to benefit others in the same way that Arya Bodhisattvas do, because the primary thought in their mind isn't, how can I benefit others? It's, oh, I'm so glad I'm liberated, or I want to be, I want to become an arhat. For example, bodhisattvas employ the first 3 of the 8 liberations, which will come later, not to unify the mind and samadhi, but to develop skill in making emanations, an ability that is crucial to benefit sentient beings. Yeah, so that's why, bodhisattvas develop these very special concentrations. Yeah, not to just have deep states of samadhi that's very peaceful, but because these states of concentration can help them manifest many different kinds of emanations that benefit sentient beings. So some Shravakas developed this ability to make emanations, but others do not. Yeah. Similarly, although all Arya Bodhisattvas cultivate the ability to remember previous lives and know the passing away and rebirth of all sentient beings, again, a skill necessary to benefit sentient beings most effectively, only some Shravakas know all of their past lives and the passing away and being reborn of sentient beings. Okay, so these sutra passages give us an idea of the Buddha's magnificent qualities. Contemplating them brings joy in our hearts and expands our mental horizons. Yeah, especially, sometimes how our mind gets really stuck. You just had a really bad experience with somebody, or so-and-so gets elected and you're just sure the country is going totally down the tubes, and you're just depressed and you're down. Yeah, and we can get really upset, and stay down for a long time about something. But when we contemplate the Buddha's magnificent qualities, it brings joy in our hearts and expands our mental horizons. What is causing us to get so down when things don't go the way we want them to go? Yeah, our mind is quite narrow. What are we thinking about? I want the Buddha Hall. It was supposed to be finished a year ago, and it's still not done. And it's like a year ago this month. Yeah, and it's still not done. And like, why not? And why did they do this? And get really wigged out about it. And how are we going to have the money to pay for this? And we can't stop in the middle. If we don't pay for the septic system, then the whole blah, 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 on and on and on. You can get really upset, yeah? Or you have a relative who's doing something foolish, something you think is foolish, or who knows what. I mean, we get upset about so many things. Okay, the aphids in the garden, what plant are they on? Everything? Yeah. The kale. Okay, so why don't the aphids go sit on the grass? Yeah, why do they have to sit on the kale and the vegetables we want to eat? I don't understand. Grass is just as green as the kale. It probably doesn't have the same amount of calcium, but why can't the aphids don't need so much calcium? Why don't they lie on the grass? Yeah. So, we can get really bummed out about this. The aphids should know better. Yeah. Aphids are little bugs, that land on the leaves of the vegetables. Yeah. So you're mad at these little bugs for being on the vegetables that you're growing. Yeah, you want them to be on the grass, or even better yet, on the concrete. Or better yet, they should fly away. Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know if they even fly, but they should fly. Yeah. So, when how narrow our minds can get, yeah, and how we can have this narrow vision like this for a really long time and think that we're seeing reality, yeah. And our narrow vision is usually centered around me. And that's pretty narrow when you think, at least among the human beings, there's over 8 billion. You include the animals and the insects, so you can't even count all those. But I'm thinking about one, and the thoughts of this one are the most important thing in the universe, and they're always correct. Yeah. So, I find it helpful to recall that about my mind, and that, if I want to be a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, I have to have a bigger mind. You have to have, and and what we get worried and anxious about, yeah, oh boy, we can really do a number about that, what we worry about. Oh, I'm just looking to see if the Ziply guy is here and if he installed the second line. Both done? Oh my goodness. Wow. After how long, how many phone calls did you make to them? 20, yeah. Well, it could have been 30, so you got a bargain, Yeah. And just, how our mind fixates on some small thing, Or you stub your toe and it's like, oh, my toe hurts. Maybe I broke my toe. I'm gonna have to have my toe amputated. What do I do without my little toe? When I wear thongs, people are gonna stare at my feet because I only have 4 toes. I'm missing a little toe. Oh, and it's gonna hurt. Yeah, are they gonna have to put me under? Yeah, what do you think? Will they have to put you under to cut off your little toe? Yeah.
Major surgery.
What?
Major surgery.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Or maybe they have some new thing that you can put on your toe and your toe just dissolves. I don't have to, undergo surgery. And, we just fixate on that. Yeah. Like Donnie with his hair. Yeah, I wonder how long it takes him to do his hair in the morning. Yeah. Why hasn't anybody reported on that? This is a crucial fact on whether, have they? How long does it take? Tell me. Oh, here's somebody who knows this important information. Yes.
I came across an article several months ago that sometimes his hair is orange oftentimes because he gets impatient with how long it takes for the dye to set in, and so he gets up early, and then it's not as blonde, it's more orange.
Oh, okay.
There are
But
whole
how
stories
long
about
does the
this.
whole thing take to dye it? And
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know that.
oh, I thought you knew that. I'm so disappointed. Yeah, yeah. But, so his hair is orange sometimes because he didn't get up early enough? Okay. How long does who? Nancy Pelosi take to do her hair. I don't know. We should ask her. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're in the Senate, your hair's got to look good. Yeah. Especially if Trump's looking at you. Yeah. Yeah. she's very, and her hair isn't even orange. But, how we fixate on that, wow, how does my hair look? Is it appropriately blonde today? Who cares? Well, clearly a lot of people care about their hair. Yeah, when you had hair, did you care about it? How much time? Yes. How much time do you spend on your hair every day? Combing it, brushing it, dyeing it, deciding which way to wear it. Yeah. Which side to part it on. And then worried if it looks good. Oh my goodness, it reminds me of being a teenager. That's so preoccupied with that as a teenager. Okay. Yeah, so the recollection of the awakened one's excellent qualities inspires us to follow the same path he did, so that we can provide sentient beings with the same support and relief from dukkha that he did. Okay, let's just pause here. Questions or comments? Yeah.
I have a real question and a not real answer to the hair question. What does one instant of mind mean?
Yes, I have that. I was wondering that too. It might mean that he understands that it's just every moment of a Buddha's mind is omniscient. So with one instant, all of that is known. Okay. Yeah. Also, all the Buddha's consciousnesses are omniscient. Yeah, so.
Venerable, my computer lost its marbles, but you read that some of the Shravakas will create emanations. And so I would assume that creating emanations is a bodhisattva activity.
Creating emanations definitely is a bodhisattva activity, but it's not only a bodhisattva's activity.
Okay, so-
Magicians also create emanations.
But a Shravaka would be doing it for a virtuous reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends upon the kinds of concentrations that they've developed. So they may, just want to experiment with these with these concentrations and do things. And also Shravakas do have compassion. Yeah, so it's not that they don't have the great compassion of a Buddha, but yes, they're compassionate. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of just wondering how we're supposed to take this when they talk about these, like the Buddhist speech, because not everybody heard it that way. Like, so I can see when at the end where it explains, this inspires us and it expands our horizons, but some of these attributes are ones that you'd have to have the karma to see that way.
Yeah. Very true. But it could be that even if somebody's going to misinterpret what the Buddha says, the initial misinterpretation may cause them to reflect more, and eventually when they can hear some other teachings, they can get the right view.
Think about the first person who ever met Buddha.
Oh, he took refuge in the Buddha. No?
First one kind of just thought he was a pretty cool guy and went on his way.
Oh,
I was
okay.
impressed with his
Yeah.
continence and
But,
then,
just the contact with the Buddha planted a very special seed in his mind. Yeah. So even the Buddha said hello or whatever, there was the connection made. Yeah. Devadatta, what about him? Well, the Buddha had, yeah, Devadatta had a whole lot of obscurations. Devadatta is the Buddha's cousin who, at times tried to kill him, who, you think you have relative problems? Yeah. The Buddha had plenty of problems with his relatives. Yeah. And Devadatta caused a schism in the Sangha, and was involved in a lot of the arguments and those kinds of things. But again, they say that even just having a contact with the Buddha, even you get angry, it's still puts a good imprint in your mind by the virtue of a Buddha's prayers, and unshaken resolves, that they've blessed their own speech so that anybody who contacts a Buddha, even they may have a wrong idea at first, it makes that connection and it will, lead in the future to them being able to hear teachings. Yeah. So the Buddha doesn't just think about how somebody's going to react now or what the relationship is now. He's thinking, if we make the connection now, then things can ripen in the future. Mm-hmm. Tenzin?
Venerable, just a comment. Just now you mentioned about the knowing the Buddha know the causes and condition, because in science, they have a factorial design, which is like when you know the cause, when you know the condition, which could be a linear, quadratic, and so forth, you're able to project the results. So that become very scientific. And then because there was one young guy, 23 years old, asked me this question that why the Buddha is omniscient. And then my explanation to him was like, because the Buddha walked the path before, past, present, and future, he knows all the causes and all the conditions, therefore predictable results. I don't know whether this explanation is correct.
Yeah, okay. So the first part was?
Buddha knows the causes, he knows the conditions.
Yeah. So science knows those, but science they don't know all the causes and all the conditions. And that's why sometimes their experiments don't bring the result that they think they're going to bring. Okay, whereas the Buddha knows all the causes and conditions that are necessary for something to happen. Okay, and then the second one was about why is the Buddha omniscient? Well, yeah, it's definitely because he followed the path. But, somebody may say, well, okay, so I think it's also good to mention that somebody asked that question, that the defilements are not in the nature of the mind, they can be eliminated, and that the nature of the mind is clear and aware, clear and cognizant. So as soon as various impediments are eliminated, then the mind very naturally can perceive other objects. It's the argument we've gone into it earlier in this volume, yeah, and in previous volumes too, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So when I hear these teachings about the qualities of the Buddha, And what always strikes me is how vast their mind is and how much they can hold at once. So for somebody that's early in the practice, like I am, what are the most important different practices to focus on to start building a mind that can hold more and more and more and more?
Okay. Well, all the paramitas. Yeah, basically all of them. In terms of holding more and more and regarding sentient beings, then love and compassion and bodhicitta, and in terms, and together with that, how to practice fortitude, because if you want to be fearless and courageous, you have to have fortitude to overcome the anger, to overcome how our mind flips out when we're sick or suffering or there's danger to the body, and so all these different qualities, yeah. And then of course develop wisdom to develop the other qualities of a Buddha. Yeah, it's I remember hearing His Holiness very early on in my practice saying that one meditation practice is not sufficient to become fully awakened, that our mind is very complicated, and so we need many different practices. And so, you start with the 6 or the 10 paramitas, and then, of course, what you have to develop before that, the 3 principal aspects of the path. So, train the mind in everything according to the situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't get frustrated because you can't train the mind in everything all at once. Yeah, or frustrated because you do a little bit of training and then you forget and your old bad habits come again. That's to be kind of expected, yeah. So a lot of fortitude and joyous effort are so important, yeah, because without them, we just quit, yeah. And if we've quit, like we've probably done many times in previous lives, then we wind up, getting reborn again and again and again in samsara. Mm-hmm.
Something that really puzzles me when we talk about that the Buddha can help people, sentient beings, in the way that's needed. They can become an object or, a person or anything like that. But there are so many Buddhas. I mean, how do we work out which Buddha does what job? It's a pretty...
Well, they have a stand-up meeting every morning.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
And then, yeah, they have a rota. That's even better.
I know. It's sort of, I can't quite fathom that.
Yeah. No, I think they have some way of working it out. Yeah.
When I think about the Buddha knowing the future, what makes sense to my mind is to think about he knows all the causes, so he knows all the probabilities. Is it kind of like that? Like he knows the odds. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows if this course of action is taken, it brings this result. If this, it brings that result. So he knows all the different possibilities that somebody can choose. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Does the future change each moment?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the future, it's got to change each moment. If it were permanent, it could never come into being.
What I mean is like the Buddha knows in this moment if that person does something, this will follow.
Yeah.
But in the next moment, other causes and conditions have shifted.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would affect
So when you get
the
there,
outcome.
then he'll know.
So it's like the future is always, yeah, it's impermanent. It's always changing.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I love when people ask me about the Buddha, what the Buddha knows and does, as if I know. You know, it's like, give me a break. Yes?
Okay. On page 51, this one paragraph starts with saying, while Arya Shravakas may have some of the above qualities, but actually they're called unique qualities to a Buddha. On page 47, it says, it refers to them as 18 distinct qualities of a Buddha that are not shared by arhats.
Yeah, because a Buddha's qualities are spread to all objects and all sentient beings, and arhats are not. So the qualities are not exactly the same.
So when
And the power of the qualities, you know, an arhat's generosity versus a Buddha's, they're different.
So the Shravakas or even the Bodhisattvas, if they have a similar quality, it's almost a facsimile of what the Buddha's quality is, huh?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a Buddha, you don't have the Buddha's qualities.
Right.
Yeah, you have to keep practicing and creating the causes. Okay. So we'll dedicate before you ask me, you know.
May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of wholesome teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami.
Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenresi, may you stay until samsara ends. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the west, flourish.